Welcome, everyone. Hey, come along with me today to COSI, the Center of Science and Industry, located in Columbus, Ohio on Broad Street. And I was here visiting the King Tut display in May of 2023. And I have to say, I love gold. King Tut and your 5,000 priceless items, and the Wexner family. If you don't know, major contributors there, it looks like, to COSI. And if you don't know who they are, founders of Bath and Body Works and Limited, just to name a few. Now, May 5th, I was here the day after the 4th, that being May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day. Come on. I had to shoot a little bit of video here around this stuff. Got enough to maybe put together a 4 or 5 minute video. We'll try to get that put together for you guys in the future. I also did a video on the dinosaur display here. That's about a 6 minute video. Check that out in the future if you're interested. But our main focus today was this traveling display, this King Tut display that was here during the summer of 2023. So the display starts out and you watch a short video on Howard Carter, the archaeologist who discovers Tuts Tomb after searching for many years, and Lord Carnarvon, his financial backer, who is about to give up on him. And Carter convinces him to go one more year that I can search this area that's not been searched, where his tomb could be. Carnarvon goes in, and voila, Carter somehow discovers the tomb. The exhibit then takes you through a recreation of those 4 rooms within the tomb: the burial room, the antechamber, the annex, and the treasury. So what I really want to do with this video is just talk about some of the stuff that really stood out to me about King Tut's tomb, this display. And the thing that really is out in front is the sheer amount of gold that was found in this tomb. Over 5,000 priceless items. And that's pretty important to note that these tombs were robbed. They were targeted by thieves. There were corrupt police who guarded them, who would take bribes. My understanding is a lot of these items are pure gold, but the larger items were made out of wood and covered in gold. These tomb robbers would break into these tombs, set a fire, burn up that wood, and then just collect the gold flakes that were left behind. So Tut's tomb had been robbed 2 to 3 times previous to being discovered. There was another pharaoh's tomb that was built above this tomb, Pharaoh Ramsey V, I believe. And in the construction of that tomb, Tut's entranceway to his tomb was covered in debris from that excavation for that tomb. So here's my official disclaimer and my apology. This tour is a self-guided tour. You walk through it with a handheld device that you listen to, and it tells you the facts about these items. So when I got to these large enclosures with all this hand carving, all this inlaid glass, this gold workmanship, I kind of set the handset down and focused on trying to get as much good footage as possible. So I've not been able to find anything on these enclosures, but the way it is laid out, it seems that each one of these enclosures fits inside the previous one, and at the end is the final enclosure, which I believe covered the 3 coffins that Tut's body was buried in. In these 3 coffins, what you have is a series, the center coffin being a solid gold with the burial mask, Tut's body, then surrounded by the other 2 coffins, which are constructed of wood, covered in gold. Regardless, this is a lot of gold. Yeah, pretty good look at all these inlays. As you're looking around these items, you have to think about how much time and energy was put into creating these coffins, these artifacts that were found. There's a lot more to see yet in the video. But the time that was spent making the coffins, some of the other items that are coming up, had to take a lot of time. The craftsmanship, the workmanship. And Tut is basically a child ruler pharaoh at age 9. He dies unexpectedly at age 19. That doesn't leave a whole lot of time to create these items. So there's this theory that the actual tomb, and I would have to say these items, these burial items, were meant for another ruler, for a nobleman, someone who held high position in Egypt at that time. Here we're looking at that final solid gold open coffin where Tut's body was contained, wrapped in a burial shroud and the death mask on it. When they had pulled back that death mask, there was a small flower wreath that was placed near his face that was believed to be left there by Tut's bride. So why 3 golden coffins? Pharaohs were considered to be living gods, and gold was considered to be the flesh of gods and goddesses. All right, so we've seen a lot of gold already, and we're about to see a lot more. And this is a good time to say that this is all reproduction. The actual gold items are on display in Cairo, in Egypt. The tomb contained everything a pharaoh would need for the afterlife. Some of the jewelry that was found. Some of this is pretty interesting. Got some gold fingertips. And some sandals with some golden toes. The actual number of sandals that were found in the tomb is unclear. There are for sure were 80 pairs, and these golden sandals here have the depiction of Tut's enemies on the soles, as he would literally trample them underfoot in the afterlife. Here's some variety of things here. Some miniature coffins, some child coffins. So I did try to do some research to find out how many of Tut's children were in a tomb, and the number I came up with is two daughters, but there could be more. It's just something that's very hard to research. A lock of hair down here. So these Here are two stone coffins that held the organs of King Tutankhamun, and the foreheads are the guardians. And then they were kept in this shrine. Tutankhamun's children, the end of a dynasty. I mentioned earlier that Tut's tomb contained everything you would need in the afterlife. There's the amulets you seen earlier in the video, those small gold pieces that were believed to protect the king from disease, disaster, misfortune, all these meanings. But there are also all these golden statues of various gods that the Egyptians believed in. And I think a lot of this played into what's known as the curse of King Tut's tomb. So you have all these Egyptians who believe in multiple gods protecting, watching over this tomb of the king. And at the time of the find, the excavation, there were a lot of locals who were involved with the excavation work, the recovery of the items. And when the discovery was made, I remember I talked about Howard Carter being the archaeologist and being backed by Lord Carnarvon. Okay, so Carnarvon is this royal figure from Britain, the financier of the project. Well, Carter makes the discovery in November of 1922. He finds the passageway. He gets in touch by telegram with Carnarvon, and Carnarvon travels. I think it takes like 2 weeks to get to Egypt. And there's like this incredible story where they walk down the stairways to the entrance of the tomb. There's a hole poked into this wall, this plaster-like concrete wall that's sealed doorway of the tomb. And they look in there with the candlelight, and Carnarvon says, "What do you see?" And Carter says, "Many wonderful things." But anyway, Carnarvon winds up dying within 5 months. I think this is where the curse starts to take root. There's all these legends of the curse of Tut's tomb killing over 100 people, all these wild rumors of horrible diseases. And the truth is really 8 people died within a short time of opening, excavating the tomb. People who had direct contact with artifacts. And now they believe that quite possibly there was an exposure to mold that was in there in the tomb itself. Carnarvon's death winds up being attributed to a mosquito bite on his face, and he shaved too close to it, and it led to blood poisoning. So Carnarvon had this chase after fortune and fame, and he somewhat attained that. He did get to experience the discovery on a very limited basis. The truth is that it took Carter over 10 years to document this find, these 5,000 items. Carter, as I said way back in the beginning of this video, was not only an archaeologist, but he was an artist and an Egyptologist, and he documented all these pieces himself. This is Carter's major accomplishment. This is the greatest archaeological find ever, with the largest intact tomb of a pharaoh containing all that gold. Oh, the temptation, the temptation. And of course, Carter falls to that temptation, as some of these items did find their way home with Carter. And since his passing, they have been returned to the museum in Cairo. Carter goes on to live somewhat of a simple life, no other major finds of archaeology. He winds up later in life selling his artwork and kind of fades into obscurity. So what about Tutankhamun? What about King Tut? The boy king, the 9-year-old who took reign and lived to age 19. How did he die? Was he murdered? Is he sick? Hey, I left a little meat on the bone for you guys. There is a lot of stuff that you can learn. My summary of this display, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was awesome. A lot of cool stuff to see, a lot of gold, a lot of history, and I am in that kind of stuff. This channel, V-Man on the Road and on the Water, covers those sort of things. The roadside attractions, museums, aquariums. I do a lot of videos on the Amish. Of course, here comes the plug. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Come join me on this adventure around the state of Ohio and the surrounding states. Got some videos coming up from West Virginia. Got a video coming up from Indiana, from all over. Hey, my friends, until next time, it is good to be alive.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through, I just gotta get through.